What's up? It's Lex, and welcome to another episode of Feedback Chat. Today, we have my man Nick Maoury of Lilac War.
What's up, guys?
Nick is an incredible musician, amazing songwriter, insane guitar player. I could go on and on and on.
Thanks, man.
Like, if I had to just listen to somebody play music all day, it would probably be Nick.
So. Hey, let me know. I'll stop by anytime.
I'll just hire you for the day to come hang out, walk around behind me. That would be my dream, man.
Let's do it.
Well, Nick, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing in music right now?
For sure. A little bit about me. I've been playing music, since a young age, around the 7, 8 years old. Started off with guitar and, really got into metal music, kind of middle school, high school-ish. And then once I got to college, started writing some folk, acoustic stuff, and playing in larger bands. And, now I currently play bass in an alt-rock band, so... Musically, that's where I'm at.
All over the map, doing everything. Yeah, if you know Nick, like I do, you probably know him from the folk music. Yeah. So to hear that you were a metalhead back in the day and just ripping and roaring on the guitar is sick. We love that.
I feel like a lot of people start with metal, man.
Yeah, I feel like
it's crazy.
It has a good entryway to music.
Yeah, there's also a lot of metal shows. Like there's never a lack of metal shows that I can go to on any given night.
That's so true.
Every venue will have metal shows. It's crazy.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's easy to be a fan. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
which is great.
Totally.
Well, tell us about let's start with the beginning. Like why are we doing music in the first place? How did you end up here? I know you said you started young, but what led you to that journey in the first place?
I think initially just an initial love for listening to music. So growing up 7, 8 years old, I was really into Nirvana, Green Day, and just watching YouTube videos of those kinds of bands performing live.
Hell yeah.
It really forced me and steered me into a direction of wanting to play live music and saving up for a guitar, initially taking lessons for like a month or 2 months, and then just going on my own from there. And then that kind of moved towards a direction of enjoying the production side of music and playing in bands. So yeah.
That's awesome. So we talked about this kind of genre switch that happened for you later in life when you were going to college. What led you down that folk road?
Again, I think it's just a love of listening to folk music, but also mainly going to college. It's tough to maintain a metal band, and
yeah, that's fair.
I tell people this all the time. Being in a band is like being in a relationship with 4 people, 5 people.
5-way marriage.
It
know
is.
What I mean?
It is.
It really is. Yeah.
And so when you go to college, it's tough to maintain that, and there's a lot of driving, and of course, when you're a freshman, you don't have your car, and it makes things difficult. So the easiest thing I could do was pick up an acoustic guitar and start writing my own stuff. So
that's cool.
I started writing my own music, freshman year of college.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's awesome. Let's talk about this band thing, because I feel like people need to know if they haven't been in a band before.
Yeah.
What do you think is what to you is the hardest part about being in a band?
The hardest part about being in a band is letting go of things that you think need to happen with music.
Sure.
So, musicians in general are very opinionated about what they write and what they do, and they're performers. So being in a band, you have to accept everybody else's opinions in a band.
Yeah.
And you may be able to write a cool riff and you think it's the best riff in the world, but if the other guitarist in the band is like, I want to switch this part of the riff, you have to be very understanding of that and learn to accept it. And yeah, I think currently, being a bassist in this alt band that I'm in right now, it's a little bit easier to kind of let some of that stuff go. And I think there's some beauty in just letting the music happen. And there's some good natural collaboration that can happen from that.
Yeah, I always found when you do let go enough, when everybody agrees to let go a little bit, some of the best stuff gets made.
Yeah.
Just because, I don't know, more minds is more powerful than one, and it's just to see other perspective and all that stuff can be really helpful.
It's also nice, though, on the contrary, to have kind of a leader of a band.
Yeah, totally.
And somebody who writes the music and records the music, and all you have to do is...
in charge.
Exactly.
I mean?
There's a lot less stress and pressure with that, but... yeah, I think something I appreciate the most is collaboration with music. So.
Yeah. I've gotten to be in both situations where I was just a player and I
Nice.
knew my role. Like I was just a player and
great.
I had so much fun
just show
because
up.
it was like I'm just showing up, I'm like drinking beers and playing and just
Yep.
having a good time, you know what I mean? And it's like as long as I know my stuff, everything's cool. But when you're like the one who writes it and you have to
tough.
like it's a lot, you know.
You have to plan the releases, the marketing behind the releases, and the imagery, and organize the photo shoots, and the list goes on.
So, like, let's talk about that as a solo artist. Like, when you're working by yourself, you know?
Yeah.
I know Lilac War, you play as a band, too, but a lot of the shows you play by yourself. So, like, you're taking on all that responsibility. So, how has that been? And, like, do you prefer some of that, being by yourself and having full control? Or do you miss playing in a band all the time?
No, it's nice to have full control. And it's nice to have something that I can always turn back to. It's not like Lilac War will ever break up because I am Lilac War.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a certain amount of camaraderie that happens with being in a band with other musicians, and you get to share a lot of cool experiences, like going to play shows where 2 people show up and it's in the middle of nowhere, or going to play shows and it's the craziest thing you've ever done, and you get to share those experiences with other people. But I think if I really kind of lock myself away and write and record my own music, there's some good beauty that can happen from that.
Absolutely. And that's something that you're doing. I mean, this music that you're putting out, you are recording, producing, like making it all at home on the setup.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the setup, first of all.
Yeah, for sure.
What makes the Lilac War records happen at home? Like, what kind of gear do you have? What are you working with?
I mean, it always starts with an acoustic guitar, obviously.
Yeah.
Maybe some like notes in my notes app. Though I will say I found it harder the older I get to actively kind of work and write music. But some of the gear I'm working with is an AT4040 microphone. I got that microphone when I first went to college, and I still use it today. It's a great microphone. And I also have a Warm Audio 47 clone, or just a Warm Audio 47. And that's good for vocals. I use that for vocals.
Yeah.
And I'm running through a Universal Audio Apollo Twin. And I think that's about it for hardware.
Yeah.
I've got like a MIDI keyboard that I use for like programming drums.
Yeah, just little things like that.
Yeah.
And then are you mixing primarily on speakers, headphones? Like, what's your rig at home?
Yeah, I always start with speakers. It's just a little bit, I can get into it a little bit better if it's coming out of speakers.
You can feel it.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, exactly.
Moving air, you know,
Yep,
feels that way, yeah.
And I always feel like if something sounds good in my speakers, it'll sound good with the headphones on, usually, barring any sort of like weird low-end stuff that may be happening. But yeah, usually out of speakers. If it's late at night and people are sleeping, I'll throw the headphones on.
Yeah.
I gave myself cauliflower ear. So if you don't know what cauliflower ear, it's when, MMA fighters will like punch each other's ears or whatever. They get hit in the ear and it puffs up. I gave myself cauliflower ear from wearing headphones for too long.
Just working on the record?
I was working on the record and I had headphones on, and I guess it was cutting off the circulation from my ear.
Dang.
And I had to go get surgery and have it cut open so it could drain permanently. It was crazy. Just some headphones.
Let's talk about some dedication. How many of y'all out here?
I took the headphones off and I was like, ow. Oh, dude.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, talk about the dedication. Making this record happen.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was a good time though, but my DAW of choice is Logic. I love Logic. I know you use Logic too.
I love it.
I have, some gripes with it. Like the snapping. Sometimes the snapping and the...
Yeah, I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, can we not just drag this out and it be smooth?
Yeah.
And everyone, people are going to be like, in Pro Tools, you can... It's like, they all do different stuff. They all do the same shit, really, But
have you ever used Studio One before?
I have, yeah.
Okay, I have some friends who use Studio One.
Yeah, I've Studio One. I got to use Reaper for a little bit.
Yeah, Reaper was my introduction.
Reaper was cool because it was just like you could actually see like the cabling going to stuff, and it just felt like pretty... Mm-hmm. It was good for learning, you know what I'm saying?
Like, do you want to keep using this in trial mode?
Yeah, yes, please. And then I worked in Pro Tools for a long time when I was at Sprocket, and like just at home too, I used it forever. But then when I switched to Logic, I was like, I love this. Like, it just makes sense.
Yeah,
like,
it's nice.
Yes, it tries to do shit for you sometimes, and if you know what you're doing and you can just be like, no, I don't need that, then like it's great,
No, yeah, and I feel like a lot of DAWs are kind of like manning a spaceship almost.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different buttons everywhere, and Logic is definitely the most most user friendly in my
say
opinion
so.
out of all of them.
Yeah.
But it is Apple, and they've got thousands of dollars, millions of dollars put behind UI for that kind of stuff. But
which is crazy.
I love Logic.
But no, it's cool, and the stuff they give you is nice. Like as for production, you could be like, wow, I've got kits in there, I've got samples in here, like everything sounds.
And their kits sound great too.
They sound great.
Their plugins sound great.
Like
compressor sounds great with Logic.
That's what
I use
I'm
the
saying.
stock one all the time.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some of that. So when you're talking about mixing this record and working on this record at home, what are some of your like go-to things that you really like to use? Like, are you using a lot of stock? Do you have third party that you like? Are there companies that you like?
Yeah. It really depends on kind of like what I'm feeling. Obviously, like my initial go-to is always some sort of like channel EQ to just kind of like duck out some of the low ends or whatever.
Clean it up.
Yeah, clean it up a little bit before it goes into anything else. I have some Waves plugins that I like to use. I use TrueVerb a lot.
Nice.
For my reverbs. I know Logic has a stock reverb plugin. I think it's like Space Designer. I've heard really good things about that.
Space Designer, if used correctly, is fire.
I've heard great things about it. I've never used it.
You really got to dig, but it's worth the dig. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. So I've got some Waves plugins that I use. They have a nice limiter, nice compressor. I use RComp from them. I think that's Waves, right?
RComp.
Yeah, RComp is
fantastic.
And then I also have some Universal Audio plugins. Also I use the Pultec EQ. I think that's from Waves too, right?
Yeah. Well, it depends. Waves has one. UA has one.
Right. They're all different.
They're all different, but.
Yeah, but they got a nice one. And then Sound Toys. I like Sound Toys a lot.
Sound Toys is great.
That Distressor plugin, and then Echo Boy for some delay. Echo Boy has some cool stuff. It's they've got some cool like reverb sounds too.
Well, they do like really short spluttery delays that carry out really long, and you get that cool like old school reverb vibes. Like it's really nice. I use Echo Boy in every mix.
Totally, yeah. I use Echo Boy's short delay. I think it's like the 15 something delay on my vocals to kind of make them sound a little bit wider sometimes.
Yep.
Because I sing pretty softly in a lot of my acoustic stuff, so to kind of have that widening effect,
just to create more body in the whole vocal. That's awesome.
Totally.
Yeah, that super short delay with a little bit more feedback than it should have.
Yeah,
and then it creates that like widening, but you got to make it super short, like 30-second note. You know what I mean? And really, but yeah, you can expand vocals that way in a really cool way, which is awesome.
Yeah, it makes them sound a little bit louder in the mix too.
Yeah.
And then I also use FabFilter, obviously. And then I've also been using this plugin called Sketch Cassette. I believe the company's Aberrant or something like that. But great for tape emulation. And
that's the one you were telling me about? Okay, that's sick, yeah. So is that basically like just emulating, putting it on cassette, so it's like dirty and a little bit gritty, saturation-y, like all that kind of stuff?
You can control all that. You can control how old the tape is.
Oh, sick.
You can control how much saturation is going into it, how much it warbles, how much it ducks in and out with like dirt on it. Yeah. So you can control everything, but it sounds good.
I think people are coming back to that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know how like we went through this era of like everyone's got to have analog or the world is over, right? And then it turned into like we don't need that because we can do it all in the computer, which is sick. I do a lot of that. Like I do a lot of emulation because I just think that stuff sounds nice and I like it. But then now it's kind of we're digging back into like I feel like people are going to start doing tapes again and start doing like, and we want that sonically. Like I've been doing mix breakdowns recently and I'm realizing that I'm like, yeah, I'm going to dirty this up a little bit now. I'm going to dirty this up a little bit because it feels nice. It fits the context. And it's just like, I don't know, a little bit more natural.
No, for sure. And there's something about kind of physically being able to change knobs or physically working on hardware that makes, the aspect of recording music more enjoyable.
Yeah, feels more real.
Yeah, but, on the contrary, I'll also say that I think, however you can get your sound is however you should do it. So if you like the digital sound and you can get some cool, analog sounds out of it, then go for it.
Yeah, that's all that matters, right? Is getting it done how you want to do it.
Yep.
Because that's what makes you individual as an engineer, whatever, producer, It's like whatever you think sounds good is what sounds good for you. And that's great. That's what it should be,
Yeah, and I've had people, so I've been gigging with this like a Helix pedal board and just running that into a power amp and going out through my own bass cab.
Oh, nice.
Like just a single speaker.
Yeah.
And every now and then people will be like, oh, you're not running through like a real amp or whatever? And it's like, Man, I would love to lug around like
Yeah.
a 100-pound amp in my small tiny car
with fucking tubes that are shattering, and when I'm breaking it, and moving it around, and
but it's really convenient because I can switch from my metal setup with like an electric guitar tone straight to my bass setup and my alt band, and then I have a folk acoustic setup with IRs that make it sound like
and there's nothing wrong. Like, embrace the technology. That's awesome. And I get it. Like, people are like, using an amp sim as opposed to like moving air and putting a mic in front of an amp. Like, I understand the difference, and like, but they both serve in different ways and can be used in different ways 100%. In different moments in music to be great in both settings. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. How do you feel about like fake drums on recordings?
Ooh, I love me some fake drums, but it also just depends. Like, the problem with fake drums is people want to do it the easy way, which is program it out and then not touch it anymore.
Quantize it, throw a compressor on the entire thing.
And not touch it. And that's cool, but you can just tell. Now, the reason real drums... Okay, this is going to be controversial, but I'm going to say it.
Say it.
Fake drums sound better than real drums. They just do. I'm just saying
it is kind of what agree it is. With you.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I think in the wrong hands... 9 out of 10 times, yes.
Yes.
I think if you have a really, really skilled engineer and somebody who knows the drum kit in the room and is
you can make fake drums sound insane, amazing. And if you take the time in production to humanize your MIDI, and I don't mean highlight and hit the humanize button in Logic. I mean, what would I be playing if I was playing it?
How hard am I hitting the hi-hat?
This hi-hat compared to this one is definitely lighter. You know what I mean? And making those changes, you can make insane sounding drums and do it well. Or sometimes, like, I've even seen people do all the shells programmed, and then they'll literally just record themselves playing cymbals. Like, and that's cool too. Like, that's a great way to do it. Like, there's tons of ways to get good drums without being like, I have to set up and mic the drum kit with 16 mics in a professional room, yada, yada, yada. You know what I mean?
And also just if you go through the, the process of mixing the fake drums as if they're real drums, that elevates things to a completely different level.
And using like different like layers of reverbs to create space and room. Like, you're going to have a really short reverb that's just the room tone, right? Yep. And then something longer for the snare to carry out into. And if you do that stuff right and make it feel like a drum kit, man,
it sounds real.
It's so, and it sounds better. Like, because like, you mic up a drum kit and then you play it back and you'll be like, damn,
this is what I'm
going to have to do a lot of work to this. And it's just the same amount of work. It's just different work. You know what I mean?
So I agree 100%.
I'm all about fake drums. And usually, like, I try to program them out and put them in there. And people are generally happy, especially singer-songwriter type vibes where you just need something simple. But it depends. So there's times where I'll, like, okay, I'm going to program everything, but I do want to like play this, like, if it's like a train snare kind of pattern, like maybe I'll actually do that, But even programming that stuff sounds fire. Yeah. So it's like,
it can be hard sometimes with like rolls and, like,
but you just have to really analyze, like, what would I be doing,
See, I'm very lucky in that I grew up playing MIDI drums. So for all my music, except a few songs, I think actually on my last album I released for Lilac War, I would say half the songs are real drums and half are fake. You wouldn't be able to tell which ones are real or fake.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But for the fake ones, I hand played them on the MIDI keyboard.
Oh, okay. So you actually are like, and that adds to like the character of it. You know what I mean?
Oh man, and it's also awesome when I'm hanging out with the band and we can jam in a room like this without a drum set because I just grab the keyboard and I can play drums.
Exactly, and it's cool. Like, that's so helpful, and it's nice. Like, you can have your whole rig in your backpack. The difference is when people who don't have the musicality of like the rhythm section yet, like, haven't experienced or played enough to know that's where people get in trouble, because they'll be like, okay, I'm just going to start making beats like right out of the gate. And they're just, things don't sound like super musical right away just because they're missing that little thing. But if you get that piece in, they sound way better than,
Yeah, and that takes a lot of time though.
It does, yeah.
I mean,
and the only way to do it is by doing it. Like, just over and over. Like, when you're making songs, you're going to have problems at the beginning. Like, that's just how it goes. But the more and more you do it, the more that natural musicality comes out, and you just be able to like program stuff that's amazing.
Totally. I remember starting out on my iPod Touch.
Yep.
And I had the little Apple headphones with the microphone on it. Yeah.
Yep. I love that. I remember...
what drums do you use your fake drums for recording?
It depends on like what I'm doing. So I use a lot of the Logic stock stuff because
Okay.
I just really like it. I also have Splice, and I'm a big fan of building a kit with Splice samples. So if I am like building a folk kit, I can go through and you can genre search, which is nice. But I can be like, this kick is fantastic. Okay, I want the snare to be like a little more muted than that. Okay, this one's perfect. Nice. And you just build out the kit and then either program it or hand play it or whatever, and that's cool. It works out great. And then there's like the Kurt Ballou stuff. I don't know if you've seen all of that. Like sure. I have that too for like heavier stuff, but I don't do a ton of that, Usually I send people to Buddy. I'm not even gonna lie. I'll just be like, do you know Buddy Harlow?
Command A, velocity 100% for everything.
And let it rip,
Yeah, exactly. I've been using Addictive Drums for nice. My fake drums. They have like 8 different hi-hat hits of like increasing openness. So it's like,
see, that's awesome. And that can make it so real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because like those little nuances is what makes great recording. So if you can program that stuff and still have it, that's dope.
Honestly, it's mainly just the hi-hats for me that I have like, the most trouble with getting, I spend the most time faking them, the hi-hats at least.
Yeah. But. Well, they are, I would say, because they're not like long, like you could just find like cymbal samples and even just like psh, and true. It's like fine, But with hi-hats, there's not that type of stuff. Like, and the hi-hat is always like feels like it's interfering with its next note, because there's always like spluttering sound and a little bit. So if it's not like if it doesn't have any like bleed over into the next piece, it just feels wrong. So
I agree completely.
Even with that, with hi-hats, like when you're picking between sampling, like I do them as one shot, so the whole thing plays. You know what I mean? And then you can like it overlaps a little bit and it sounds a little bit more natural. And then with some velocity changes, you can get like
No, for sure. That's cool. I did splice up my own like K-Tronada kit because I was taking my swing at like hip hop stuff.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. Sampling's always been kind of difficult for me though.
Yeah, stuff it's like a whole crazy world.
Yeah, because like there's a lot of setup involved with it.
Yes, and it takes a long time, way longer than people think. And you know what I mean? Like you have to like get it all mapped out and laid out before you can really like do it in a successful manner,
No, for sure.
What about guitars for you? How do you feel about like electric guitar? Are you moving air with an amp or do you like using Sims?
No, I mean when I can, especially if I'm recording, I'll record out of a real amp. I forget what amp I've got at home. Deluxe Reverb, I think.
Yeah,
or some version of the Deluxe Reverb. It's tough in an apartment to record out of a real amp. I think when I'm just trying to get ideas down and do demos, I'll use Sims and Logic. My process is usually write the song, quickly demo it in Logic, and then go back through with drums first.
Okay.
And then when I have the drums, I'll record the guitars and bass.
And then build it up. See, I do the same thing. I love when people come to me and they're like, what should we start with? I'm like, why don't you lay down a pass that I can make drums to, and then we'll relay down your pass. Because, like, you want the groove and you want it to feel right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
And even that means, like, not quantizing everything perfectly. Like, you know what I mean? Like, still play to a click and do all that, but have that little bit of variance will help. And then when people are playing, especially anything swung in the guitar at all, it's good to have that, like, drum pattern already.
It is, for sure. Yeah. I've done the opposite before, and it's just, like, it sounds a little off, especially when like the bass guitar and stuff comes in. And just something off about it. And it's also less stress when you just kind of start a demo, you and a guitar singing or whatever, and you know that's not the final take.
Yes, exactly. I hate when people like it's hard when you're playing acoustic guitar to a click and you're like, this has to be the final take. Like I just don't feel like I'm like fitting into the texture well. But if you have the whole band playing and then you go back and lay it in, it's like, this is great. Like now I feel like I'm glued in a little bit better. You're not fighting yourself as much.
Yeah, no, and that can be like that's been a real problem for me sometimes too, is like just getting in the right mind space of recording music and following through with what I'm recording.
Yeah.
I probably have like 200, 300 demos of songs that I've just never touched. And,
Yeah, I'm in the same, but my unreleased music catalog is insane compared to my release.
And it's like, I don't know if you do this too, but if I have nothing to record or write and I have a writer's block, I'm just going through old files.
Yes, and I'm like, this is kind of cool. Like, maybe I could do something with this, But
send it to a couple homies.
Yeah, and be like,
yo,
what do you
this
think?
out.
Yeah, like, is this worth it?
Yeah.
Like, I know Doug gets stuff from me. I'll be like, what do you think about this? And he's like, all right. But like, yeah, I definitely get into those old patterns of just like laying stuff down, like an idea, and then like I'll write the first verse and then I just like never finish it. and it sits forever, and then sometimes I'll come back to it and like resurrect it, but usually I don't make it.
And I don't know, maybe you feel the same way too, but all it takes sometimes is just a little bit more production.
Yeah, literally, that's it. Like,
just mix the vocals a little better, and you're put a little bit more reverb
this could
on
be
it.
A song, you know, and it's like, dang, I've been sitting on this for so
even
long.
like stacking vocals. Yes, because you have a full instrumental and then you do one take vocal over it. You're like, this sounds weak. I don't like this. You give up on the song.
Yes,
but if you had like 2-3 layers here and there, some little ear candy bits
here's
with
some
the vocals.
harmony, here's some ads, like you know what I mean. It makes a big difference.
A little bit of Melodyne in there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was just working on this like folky song, and I did the same thing. I have this long hold out note like you do in a folk song, and I was like, man, that's boring, and then I added 3-part harmony, and I was like, man, that's awesome. Beautiful. Like, yeah, it's like that's what it's
the
for.
vocals, just repeat that.
Yeah, like good. That's what it should be. Like, I get it. All right, so that's just like part of the deal, but.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this album. Did you do all of it? I know you produced it, recorded it. Mm-hmm. Did you mix and master and do all of it at home?
Yep, I did everything.
And was that how was that process for you?
It was very long. It was a long process. Some of the songs, like Seize Another Day, I actually wrote and recorded in 2019 when I was still living in Harrisonburg.
Oh, nice.
So
it's just been waiting.
Yeah, it's just been waiting. Yeah. Again, all it took was me kind of going back to the Logic file and redoing some parts here and there. Yeah. But the album took a while. Initially, it was going to be an EP, and then I kind of got into this lull of not doing music, and I just told myself I needed to release an album and finish an album. Yeah. And I will say, I had some of my good friends around me who were pushing me at the time to want to record music and, go to a real studio. And work on some more tracks. That kind of, pushed everything towards getting it out the door.
That's awesome. That's what you need. Get you some friends who support your music.
That's true.
It's so crucial.
It gets harder and harder, man.
Especially as you get older, you're just like, what am I doing? Like, I love music and I'm very passionate about it. And for me personally, like, I've never been trying to like be an artist that's making it. I've just always made music for fun, you know? But like, even that is getting harder as you get older. So having anybody around you who's just like, no, we got to do that. Like, Duck was messing with me the other day. Remember that little clip you posted? That was a hit. We need to take it to the studio. And I'm like, oh man, I would have let that die. You know? It's just like those friends that just inspire you a little bit to just push that last little bit. It can be really helpful.
And it's also good to have friends that want to see the music succeed, who are willing to pitch in for recording time or are willing to travel with you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very rare. So when you do find friends like that, it's cool.
That's got to be like one of the highest forms of love to a creative. It's like, hey, we support your art so much that we want to like even like financially help is crazy. Because it's just like, wow, like that's so amazing.
I mean, they're playing your songs. They're getting together with you, traveling to play your songs and practice your songs.
Damn. Yeah, that's crazy.
But again, sometimes you do need a leader like that in a band to kind of move things along.
Did you find that working on your own music in that detailed of a capacity is stressful? Like, would you next time say, you know what, I'm going to go to a producer and an engineer and work with them? Or did you enjoy it and you would want to push yourself like that again?
No, that's a good question. No, I mean, this is actually the first time where I went to a studio. So I will say 2 of the songs on the record I actually recorded at a different studio. So I did In Your Ear Studio with Taylor.
Oh, yeah, Taylor Best.
And I did Green Day, my song Green Day. And then I went up to, I believe it's Berryville Studios, and recorded Eyes of Gold there.
Nice.
And then I had those stems sent to me and I mixed them myself.
Okay, cool.
But I would much rather do it myself, I think, just because the mixing and production aspect of it.
Yeah.
Just because I'm a control freak and I know how I want it to sound. And so I'm afraid of giving the reins to somebody else and them not.
And you don't want to go back and forth with like a bunch of rounds of notes and yada, yada, yada. And
Yeah. I think in an ideal world, I find a producer who can mix and master tracks exactly how I would want them to sound.
Yeah.
Honestly, change the subject, but it's kind of like tattooing.
Yeah.
It's like you wouldn't go to a tattoo artist with like a realism tattoo idea and they're a traditional tattoo artist and say, do this for me,
Exactly.
So it's kind of like the same thing with that. But I also just really enjoy mixing and mastering that and stuff.
It's so fun, especially like spending late nights with the headphones on, like getting lost in it a little bit.
Getting cauliflower ear.
Getting cauliflower ear, you know? It's, man, the dedication, I gotta say, it's amazing. taking physical damage from music.
I know. So you take the mixing headphones off, and then you put the gaming headphones on.
Yeah, just keep going forever. Yeah.
Probably have a dent in my top of my head.
Hey, that's the dream though. To just be working on music and then playing video games.
Yeah.
What a life.
I live the dream.
Hell yeah. Well, thanks so much for hanging out with us, man. This was great. It was good to just hear more about your journey through music in general and what you like to use and what you got going on.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely check out Lilac War. Incredible artist. Just like some of my favorite music from anyone local. I love it, man. That. It's the best. So anyways, thanks for tapping in with us. This is Feedback Chat. We hope you have a great day.
See you guys.